Alright, here we go with number one, the legato for the week. 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Repetition. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, on to the sweep picking. Remember to start each arpeggio with the index finger. Back down to 60. 1, 2, 3. On 20. 1, 2, 3. 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Alright, repetition. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. Alright, so you got the new scale stuff we'll start working on, which is also something you could do during improv practice. How would that work? So I'll take this guy here. It's basically just a matter of hold on a second. I just thought of doing this last second. Wasn't even planning on doing it, but I'm doing it now. Let's see, YT Jam tracks. I need to make my own. I really do. A minor, yes indeed. Hey, this was released 5 hours ago. That's not A minor. Alright, I've used this one before. Let's use it again. Alright. So like the first section there. Maybe you just practice going, playing over this. Just kind of make it more entertaining to play. one of the things that you'll see in that lesson, the lesson on how to start improvisation, one of the things it's going to talk about is you just start putting spaces between the notes. Just make one note last a bit longer, do a couple notes, put a space in there. So you could, something like this. I'll do the next set with that example in mind. This is, it's kind of zoomed out here, isn't it? Let's do that. So yeah, instead of just making every note exactly the same length apart, just start spacing things out, kind of random. Let's kind of try some stuff, see how it feels. So, what I mean. So, could be a fun way of working on the scale memorization stuff. But yeah, you start working on the improv things, definitely send a video playing along with something. This track here is 6 minutes and 44 seconds, so that's okay. Yeah, I think like 5 minutes a day will do a lot, but 5 minutes every single day that you practice, and it just gets easier and easier as you do it. So the mode thing we were talking about last night. Now, we're going to talk a little more theory with the current plan we talked about. So you have the scale memorization stuff, yes, and then, record that whenever you have it. But as far as like what are you going to do with the mode information we discussed last night? Just keep the documents, keep the pictures around. And we're going to expand on it. So right now it's just talking about it. We're just talking about it. We will apply this stuff eventually. But doing just a little bit at a time, that's what I want to do with you. With everybody. Because man oh man, can this theory stuff get frickin' confusing. Alright, let me adjust this. Alright. Yeah, so this thing here, just a reminder, basically just say everything we did last night, plus a little bit more since we have time. So yeah, the major scale formula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So basically, anywhere on the fretboard to do that. So, I'll start here. So we go up a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half step brings us back to the root note, just an octave higher. So anywhere, doesn't matter where you start. You start here, we go up a whole step, half step, whole, half. That was a B major scale. You can start over here, G note, and go all up a whole step, half step, whole, half. G major scale. We can start with the open string. Whole step, half step, whole, half. There's your E major scale. So, you learn this. That's the beginning of that C major scale, or the C Ionian shape. So if you lay it out on one string, let's start here. We can start here. That's where you started the scale. We go up again. Whole, half. Whole, half. Now listen how it sounds the same. Tone's going to be a little different because going from the low E string to a couple other strings, it'll sound a little bit different in tone, but the notes are 100% the same. So, you basically just learned it in a nice convenient shape that you can go up and down all over the place instead of looking at it like that, which makes it more complicated to see or more difficult. So, yeah, this is just to show that it doesn't matter which way you go around the circle, forwards, backwards, jumping across the notes here. It's really to show people that it doesn't matter what scale shape you use, as long as you are in any of those scale shapes within the key of C major or A minor, same thing, then you're good. So any of the scale shapes work perfectly fine for doing improvisation practice because it's just 7 notes, but just laid out in different ways. And then here is just taking or showing how the modes are really just one step apart the entire time within these notes here, or perhaps I should say one note apart. So basically, within that C major scale shape, you have all 7 of the modes here. So like, I'm just going to go root to root, so C to C, so there's your C Ionian. Now, you started learning the D Dorian like this, but it's still within that C major scale shape. See that? And then you started learning E Phrygian like this. It's also right here. And then we also did E Phrygian open down here. So the octave thing won't work, unfortunately, because we're starting this. But I'm gonna keep the all the stuff higher up here on the fretboard, so it'll match the same octave. So F Lydian would be the next one. So this is what it would be like up here. Just the same thing down here, just starting on the 13th fret. So F Lydian. Here it is in that C scale shape you learned. And then G Mixolydian is next. Here it is again. The A Aeolian, also known as your A natural minor scale. And B Locrian. So they're all in the same shape. All of them. And it doesn't really matter how you lay these things out because note-wise it's always going to be the same. Has to be. Has to be. So much about modes is like what your tonal center is. And we will do examples eventually on what that's all about. But what your tonal center is and kind of how you branch out away from that tonal center and come back to it and all that. So the other thing we were starting to look at here, this kind of goes to me more like what the mode is. Again, it's when you deviate from the major scale, that's when you have new mode stuff. That's when you have flat intervals or sharp intervals. Let me try and make this a little bit bigger here. Okay. So once again, we have the major scale formula. So from the first note, we go up a whole step, half step, whole, whole, half. And in Dorian, we're taking that third note, flattening it, taking the 7th note and flattening that. So when you flat the 3rd and 7th note of a major scale and everything else stays the same, you now have the Dorian mode. So if I was to play the C major scale again, but flat the 3rd and 7th note, we would have this. Ionian, Dorian. So hopefully you can hear how they definitely sound different. And when you play scale shapes or modes like this, where you always start on the same notes, then you really start to hear the difference in the modes. Because when you're doing stuff like... you don't really hear the modes. You just hear a very long major scale. But when you change the mode starting on the same fret, like I just did, C major scale or C Ionian, then C Dorian, then you can really start to hear stuff. So, Phrygian, you take the second, third, sixth, and seventh, so second interval, third interval, sixth, and seventh intervals, and you flat all those, all four of those. And then you get your Phrygian. So, you have your 1, 2, flat that's, 1, 2, 3, flat that's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat that's, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, flat that's. So, Ionian, Phrygian. And that's the idea there on what a mode is. We're changing how we go from our tonal center. In this case, it was C. So instead of going up the whole half, whole half, we changed it a little bit, and that created a new sound. So, Lydian's a pretty easy one to remember, I feel, because it's the fourth mode, and it's the only mode with a sharp 4. Something to keep in mind as we move forward into more complex stuff eventually. So, sharp 4 is what makes Lydian Lydian. Mixolydian, the only thing different from Ionian, is a flat 7. Aeolian, the minor scale, has the flat 3rd, 6th, and 7th. And Locrian, everything but the 4 is flat. So, that's how I remember Locrian. Everything but the 4 is flat. And sometimes people will say, oh, the 1's also not flat. Well, that's right, it's not, because if you flat the 1, you just have a new 1. The 1 is the 1 is the 1. There's no flat ones, there's no sharp ones, it's just 1. That being said, I have seen something, I guess from a jazz instructor, from a jazz book he put together, where he titled the 7th mode in harmonic minor to be like some kind of sharp 1 whatever. I don't remember what the actual mode name was, but he said sharp 1 in the name. I get what he was going for. I don't like the name though, because the 1 has to be the 1. It's the 1. Damn it. The 7th mode, what I've seen all the time for, besides that, but the 7th mode for harmonic minor, in this case, so like A harmonic minor, 7th mode would be this. Whoops, not that. Oh my god. This is a mouthful. G sharp, that's the root note we're starting with. G sharp, super Locrian, double flat 7. I'm not going to get into what the heck that means, but I know that's the mode name. Super Locrian, double flat 7. It's a mouthful. Alright, so again, you can do what I just did there, like take a mode shape and then, or take that major scale shape and then kind of change the intervals to play those other modes there. I would just go root to root, so like C to C, and then change stuff within that, so this way you're not trying to do too much at once, like the entire shape and then change all that. We'll do that later. So, mainly just want to kind of introduce you to these ideas here. We will do more stuff with them, so you have like a hands-on work, so you can get more familiar with it. But for right now, there's some information for you to have. If you have any questions about that stuff, definitely let me know. Take little notes or whatever so you remember what to ask. And then for the videos, since we're switching over to the correspondence, so remember, just record your full practice, the final practice session, everything except the repeats. Don't need you to do the repeats. That's fine for you to do that on your own. I just want to make sure everything is going well from beginning to end, and then I'll check out the middle if I feel like I need to have more information. So basically, I just want to have as much stuff as I feel I need in order to help you get the most out of the correspondence stuff, since we can't have immediate back and forth. Okay, I think that covers it. Any questions, let me know. I will see you again in your new videos.